what's up, guys? So I haven't put up a video in a few days now. I just, really been busy. Vacation, summertime, you guys know how it works. Anyways, I'm back. I made it back safely. Long travels, I'll tell you guys, it was a 15-hour drive straight. I'm not one that likes to pull over and rest in a hotel. So straight shot to get where I need to be so I can get the most out of my time. And but it also takes its toll on you because staying awake for like 15 hours, that's crazy enough as it is. And then on top of that, staying up for the rest of the day even adds on top of that. It's just it's all kinds of craziness. So I'm a little bit lagged from the trip. However, I'll tell you guys, the trip was fun. And yeah, I had a great time, and I'm hopefully get to do it again soon. So anyhow, what I wanted to talk to you guys about is this whole thing about Android possibly dying. And the reason for that is that there's been info being shared out about Project Fuchsia. Now, if you don't know what Project Fuchsia is, that is Google's from the ground up, built from scratch operating system that's going to, from what I'm reading, be able to run on mobile smartphones, tablets, and I'm assuming even Chromebooks will run Fuchsia, which is going to be crazy. But then again, there's another company that does that, and it shows that it works, which is Apple with iOS. iOS runs on iPhones, runs on iPads, and iOS is very similar to the OS that runs on MacBooks, other than the fact that a MacBook is actually a laptop, so functionality is going to be a little bit different. However, as far as service-wise, things will be kind of similar. So with that, Google has Project Fuchsia, which is not its official name for the mobile OS. But the thing about this that was starting to become alarming a little bit is the fact that, one, Project Fuchsia is Google's and will be locked down, which means that Google will have full control over Project Fuchsia, and it's not going to be open source like Android. And so that kind of worries of the fact of what will Google do with Android? Because Android has been around for so many years. It's been the main rival to iOS. And it has gone through a lot of developmental changes. I mean, let's recap the history of Android. For those who don't know, Android was not conceived by Google at all whatsoever. It actually was conceived by three guys that wanted to build a smarter mobile operating system for a PDA. So if you actually Google the first original Android device that was in its alpha stage, you'll see a phone that looks just like a BlackBerry that is running an operating system that looks like Windows Mobile OS, and that was Android. When Google took Android, they developed it for also being compatible to react to touch commands, enabling it to be used with touchscreen devices. And then from then on, Beta, then you have Cupcake, Donut, Eclair, Froyo, and you guys get it, right? All the incremental changes and facelifts that Android has had. But Android has grown on a lot of people. And even today, Android is very well polished to what it used to be. I mean, back then, if you had an iPhone and you had a phone running Android Froyo, obviously iOS was very polished, very good looking compared to what Froyo was. And so yeah, of course, people will sit there and be like, well, Android sucked back then. It didn't look right. It was like, ugh. You look at Android now and compare it to iOS, and there's not a very big distinctive difference as far as how polished these two look. They look very, very well. Google has gone a long way with Android, which is why it's kind of sad to see them want to go ahead and eventually ditch Android completely. I mean, I get it. Yes, Fuchsia will be what Google has built from the ground up. And there is fears also with the Google complex. If you guys don't know what the Google complex is, it's a term I like to use about Google, and that's because Google likes to rebuild everything. Like you got Gmail and Inbox, right? Inbox, very good for emails, can really just declutter all the crappy email you have and get the ones that you want and find them where you want to find them, right? Gmail is very cluttered, right? But Gmail is obviously Google's email application and service. Inbox is just an application that bonds with the service and has some unique core features to it, right? Both the same, right? Let's go Allo, Android Messages, and Hangouts. All do the exact same thing. All very great. Sure, Hangouts has video chatting within it. Allo has a link to Duo, which is its companion app for video calling. And Android Messages, unless your phone supports video calling, like if you're on T-Mobile, I believe T-Mobile has video calling natively built with the dialer. Messages can support that, I guess. But they all pretty much do the same thing. It's all about chatting and sending messages, right? And so I call that the Google complex because you have Android Messages, which people love. It's SMS supports, right? Allo didn't take off very well, only because people that use Android and like Google services are getting tired of applications that Google creates that does the same thing as an application they already have. Like this Google One app, which is supposed to be a premium cloud storage. Well, Google Drive already has premium services for its cloud storage. So what's with the whole point of creating a whole new thing that has other things built into it? You guys get my point, is that that's the Google complex. It's like we have this, we have apples, but they're not making something that's like oranges. It's like apples, apples, apples. However, this one is a Washington red apple, this one is a Fuji apple, this one's a Granny Smith apple. But they're all apples. You guys get my point. So what fate is there for Android going forward? Because Fuchsia is not going to be something we're going to see in the next 2 years. It'll be like maybe 4 or 5 years before we see what Project Fuchsia is and how well it's going to be developed, and it'll be out there. And of course, they're going to slowly roll it for people to, eventually get it, and then of course be away with Android. Well, what does that do for Android? Because that's one of the quintessential things of Android has always been customization. And I'm not talking about changing icons and launchers. I'm talking about like really going in for it. People like you and I who pretty much know code and go off and build custom ROMs based off the source codes from Android and go and take a little bit of Cyanogen, a little bit of Paranoid Android, a little bit of, just stock AOSP, and build things like the Pac-Man ROM, which is one of my favorite ROMs, till today. I know that there's Resurrection Remix and there's Lineage OS. I mean, there's just all these different ones, but what happens to them? Because Project Fuchsia is known to be a locked-down operating system, which means that Google will have control and they're not going to share source code files. It's not open source for anyone to just take and do what they want with it. And is this because of the fine that they got? And I will tell you guys that it may be, it's not a fact, it may be, but it's not something that they just started developing a month or two ago. Project Fuchsia has been around for quite a bit. The idea and what they're trying to do with it. So it's not something they just spawned last week and said, okay, we're going to build a whole new operating system. Like, no, they're not doing that. But what will they do with Android? Will there still be Android when this version of a mobile OS comes out that's Google related also? And will it become something, if they decide to keep Android and this mobile OS platform, they tend to just kind of rival each other? Like, what's going to happen? These are the things that I think about regarding the reasoning for them building a new OS platform. Like, I dig the idea that it's going to be able to support 3 different types of hardwares and services, because that's something that, Android definitely needed. But my thing is like, yes, while the benefits of having it locked down means that Google controls it, means that, fragmentation will kind of cease. Because, if Google controls it, when they put out the software update, it's for everyone. And on top of that, Samsung, LG, Motorola wouldn't be able to really put their skins on top of it because it's not open for them to tinker and mess with. It's how Google puts it out. This is Fuchsia, deal with it or don't. And so if you run a device that is using the Fuchsia OS, then you can expect to have timely updates, almost similar to how iOS is with Apple iPhones. So that's the bonus of it. But the downside to it is that the more freedom we had to really tinker and mess with the OS will be taken away. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Should Android remain even though Google's going to put out this mobile OS? And if it doesn't and Android then tends to die, where would you go for a mobile smartphone service? I'd love to know that, and you guys can do that in the comment section of the video. Thanks for checking this out here on YouTube and on IGTV. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Aloha.